88 kick drum, 88 hat, 88 snare drum, 88 clap. Got an 88 this and an 88 that. Got an 88 boom and an 88 bap. This is episode 88 of the Strip Poker Night of the Inventory podcast. I'm your host, Spnanon, also known as Spnanon Nectar. This is my side guy. My main account is a Nord. Hello.
Whatever reference this is entirely lost on me. Why couldn't we have done Back to the Future, 88 miles an hour? Hello, everybody. I'm Nord.
We could do that. Do you want to just redo it? Because it's actually it's a song from Breaking Bad, but it's actually 808. But I don't think we're going to make it to 100 or 888 or 808 episodes. Do you want to just redo it? That's a better idea than the one I have.
No, we're keeping this in as well. Hello, everybody. I'm Nord.
Hey, Nord. Hey, Nord.
What?
When this podcast gets to episode number 88, you're going to see some serious shit.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. It is episode 88. Welcome, everyone, to the very first take. The only bit that we thought of for episode 88 of the Strip Poker Night of the Inventory podcast. I'm your host, Spnanon. This is and my co-host is Nord, who definitely did not think of that bit that we just did. Say hi, Nord.
Jesus Christ, Spnanon. You disintegrated Maya.
She'll be back in a minute.
Hello, I'm Nord. I'm the other half of this dynamic duo, apparently.
Maya is a time traveler. Oh my God. I sent her into the future. That's wouldn't that be a movie if those two had to walk around in the 50s?
My God.
And get back to the future.
They let me in one day and I haven't left. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I think I've said that like 5 times now. And we also have our special guest back from last episode, Horsecat. Say hi.
Back from the past into the future. Hello again. Since I'm not a main host, I cannot be a main character, so I'll do the role of that weird kid at the end of the third movie that just points at his crotch as he's saying goodbye.
Oh my God.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It really does ruin that scene. I mean, I guess people didn't notice it for a long time. I mean, the editor didn't notice it, so it doesn't totally ruin the scene. But once you know, you know. You can be, well, you know, you're the ponies guy. You can be the horses that they ride on.
Sure, why not? I got plenty of horses, but not this time.
Well, we all want to mount those ponies, right?
Yeah, that definitely wouldn't go through editing.
As stated, this is episode 88, and we have a new slate of content to talk about today. Last time was the Easter event we covered, right up against rubbing shoulders with the April Fool's event, which has not come out at the time of this recording, so we'll get to it next time, I'm sure. For now, this is just a little interlude episode. But we have quite the unique slate of stuff to talk about. Alt skins, epilogues, plural. That's a rarity within a rarity. It's epilogues don't come out that much at all anymore. Technically, we have 2, technically 3 to talk about, as well as a new testing roster character as well. Brand new addition to the game. As usual, we start out with the feedback poll and everything. That's all done with that we've been shilling, but there's also the host Shilling corner. I don't have too much to say since we tend to record these 2 at a time. So I shilled all of my Maya's underwear and that stuff in the first half of this. But I would like to give a special shout out to Nord for doing my Vandrid crew member bounties for characters that will appear in epilogues eventually. Among them, he's made quite a few of them, but the most recent is one that the most valuable one, who I think has the most appearances. Yeah, Gasconia Rheingau. Thank you for having that ahead of time. who's like a tall dommy mommy weapons registration manager, armament quartermaster type of role. As you can see, she's tall, she's muscular, she's masculine, she's a sort of a deadpan snarker. On a crew full of girls, she is a woman. You could say that. Nor did you notice how old she was?
I did not. How old is she?
How old do you think she is?
37?
32, I believe.
An anime character that actually looks the part. How strange.
Yeah. So there actually is an older model that is in Maya's older or current epilogue at the moment, or female epilogue. It's that one that you see that I believe Halo made. But I was looking for something that fit the new models a little better, and this one's very nice, so I appreciate that. Gave her big muscles and all that good stuff. She's not super tall. She's like 5'10", so she's only a little bit taller than Jura, but she's bulkier.
She's taller. She's far taller than Maya. I originally scaled her to Maya's height.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I appreciate that very much. She has a notable role in a couple of my scripts, so it's good to see her. She's a useful character. She's a bit older. She offers advice, and you just might be in for a good time with her as well. Who knows?
I flexed my skills a little bit and made her like baggy pants using Flash.
You just drew it, didn't you?
Yeah, Flash image attachments just to draw the general design.
That's the new meta.
In general, you're welcome. I would say please remember to say thank you first, and then go into the hundreds of minor like tweaks you want to see, because it takes a lot of effort to make these like to the same quality of Maya and Jura like level models. But
Sorry,
also,
were you tired?
I was tired. Also, the bounty points are appreciated.
The what now?
The bounty points, the TC 90 points. Remember TC 90, the thing that exists.
Yeah.
It was fun making her.
I hope you'll enjoy seeing her come to life. Also, I want to mention the other model that got made by Hugh, who's quickly becoming my greatest ally. His word Mitama is on Maya's preset table, and he's made a bunch of models for this bounty as well. The captain that they often refer to. She's 108 years old. She's a former priestess. She's the one who founded Magno's family. It's Magno Vivon herself. No nude model required, I said. He did not have any interest, apparently, in making that. But she's she you won't be banging her. I don't think that's in the cards, but she is very useful for dialogue and exposition purposes. She has a quick wit to her. She's a fun character as well. So she's good to have there. Thank you very much. That's all I had to shill this time. Do you have anything to shill, Nord? For once, we have nothing that you made on the agenda.
Or so you think. No. I don't really have much to shill this time. Just want to.
There are new characters in the pipeline, but they're just kiddings.
Oh yes, we are recording this on the day of developer Just Kidding's birthday, and as a birthday present, both Sophia and Ye just made it to main roster, and of course, 2 new characters have slid into the mod DMs. As soon as 2 leave, 2 more enter.
Exciting times.
What were you saying before?
No, I just wanted to give a general shout out to all of our hardworking artists. Even if it's just making like models just for fun outside of the game, it's still nice to have a lot of high quality models available for someone to potentially pick up. But yeah, just shout out to artists. And by artists, I mean like Kiseke artists. You don't have to know how to draw to make a Kiseke model. It's just easier to call them artists. It's a form of art.
At a certain point, it does help. And if you are a real artist, you can make Ringo's epilogue. #Horsecat, which we'll talk about in a bit. But first, we have Another one of my greatest allies, the Lonely Phone Box, has been around for a long time. He's the maker of Komi-san, a number of alt skins. He did Cupid Maya's alt. He's worked on a lot of projects, and among his most popular works is Rouge the Bat from Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm sure you're aware. She's a 3-foot tall bat that bounced her titties to her fat titties to the children across America, across the world, really. Everyone who in that generation who played Sonic Adventure 2 knows them and knows them well. You have nothing to be ashamed of, okay? Sega did this to you. Okay, it doesn't make you a furry. For a while, Rouge had a different appearance. I mean, she still does. Her main costume, her main appearance that she's had is a Gijinka, it's now called, which is basically, an anthropomorphization of her look. Which didn't look bad. Like, it was a fine representation of her. But it was rather divisive, I guess you could say. I think on the general feedback poll, Rouge is probably the character that got the most, like the closest ratio of like praise and criticism. Specifically because there are people who want, the actual canon design of Rouge. And that's not easy to do in Gizake. Like, there's a reason that she and also Amy Rose opted for the Gijinka look. Even classic Amy did that as well, of course, before the newer one. And some people, you have responses that say it's like, oh, that's not feasible, or I prefer in this human form that makes a little more sense, or like, oh, interesting style choice, as if it's purely for style that people do this. And instead of practical reasons. The phone box took the plunge, man. He went all the way. He has debuted an actual, it's called bona fide bat, which is just full on the canon 3-foot tall Rouge the Bat. Before we had Rouge, let me tell you, this is Rouge the Bat. Horsecat, what did you think of this new look for her? Or I guess you could say the original look.
I don't agree with the people that say they don't like the Dijinka. I actually did not like originally Rouge R34 out there, and then Spinaris version made me like it, and now I guess it circle back, and now I love the furry, full-on furry version of her, full-on bat version of her. She looks really good. Her 2 polygons finally made it into the game.
Her 1 polygon tit.
Yes. And she looks really, really, really good. And now I just wish, if I knew more about Amy, I would just adopt Amy and try to give her a look like that as well, because it looks really, really good. I love it. Different tools, different limitations. I guess those limitations are gone now.
Well, I think one of the big catalysts for this is that Kisuke was updated to be able to resize the limbs specifically, because that was one of always the big limiting factors. Is it was bad for men because they always had tiny little girl hands, and Sonic characters, especially the canon designs, they have enormous hands. And he was talking about how that made posing difficult as well because her hands are as big as her torso.
Yeah, people say a lot about her chest, but look at those hands.
Yeah. She's got big old ball grabbers.
I do feel like we should mention that it was go by Hotline Himbo on the
right. They helped with creating this too, right?
Deep Dire Descent is their spnanon name. Okay, they helped with Bowser and Hilbert as well. So yeah, they essentially did the entire face for this alt, as far as I know. And then Funbox had to power his way through all the posing, because this is the sort of costume where none of the default poses will help you, or none of the poses from the default costume will help you in any way. You're having to redo the whole thing with a whole new model.
Yeah, and I imagine that face is just completely custom.
It's an entirely custom face, aside from the mouth sometimes.
Honestly, considering my experience with the Questra girls, once you do the whole face custom, you might as well just go all the way through, even with the mouth. So they probably did that as well here.
Oh, my mistake. I'm sorry. I introduced this as her bona fide bat alt costume, but it's actually her April Fool's costume, according to the subreddit.
Yes, someone on the subreddit mistakenly thought this was an early April Fool's costume, but no, it's the real deal.
I guess they just didn't want to believe that people would jerk off to this. I got news for you, buddy. People have been jerking off to this for 25 years. Have you gone on Rule 34? She has like 20,000 results, and they're all fucking a 3-foot tall bat.
I'm just gonna say, I liked the humanoid design. I'm not gonna say I prefer the bat form. I do appreciate that the bat form. I do appreciate that the bat form is here, because like it's one of those things where like I'm actually, you know what I'm gonna say. I think Sonic characters should take this approach from now on, where the default is a more humanoid or humanized version. A Gijinka, you said?
Gijinka.
Gijinka. I've only ever seen it written down.
I think that's how you say it.
I think the default should be a Gijinka, and you should then, like, if you want to do a costume version which is more source accurate, I just think that would work well for Sonic characters. Like, I could imagine this system working for EMA, and then I guess the most likely next candidate would be Shadow. If someone adds Shadow the Hedgehog, he could work.
She certainly talks about him a lot. Just make Blaze Blaze's best girl.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this alternate costume has a different forfeit, I believe.
Oh, yes.
Than the normal costume.
Yes. Well, I was going to get to that, but yeah, you can talk about it. So, well, let me say, Phonebox passed by like the creative, passed the creative process behind her forfeit by me and a couple other people, because he originally wanted to like do like, you know, standard masturbation kind of what she has, where she uses her hands. Problem is that her hands are as big as her torso. You couldn't really see anything, and it was difficult to work with. And he talked about how it was very difficult to work with. And he's like, he could like try to move her legs around in different positions, but what he ended up settling on was something a little different. And you can talk about that. I'll get the picture.
Well, now she uses her own little toy.
I do have one. Yeah, she uses a toy now, which is interesting. I do have one minor complaint about it, and that is her like positioning is too far down. I left a very technically oriented track earlier that basically said you don't need to change the pose code, just do this trick in the character editor and it'll move all her images upwards when you import them. Because she was so far down, she was obscured by the like player cards.
I can understand that, but wouldn't raising her up cause other problems? Like, for example, if you have like the pool, how you call it, background, she will be just floating in the water. If you leave her up.
No, I mean like just moving her back like 100 pixels to match other characters. Because like I do this with my characters all the time. I move them just back a certain number of pixels.
So regarding the forfeit, what I wrote here is forfeit black. My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined because here we have the lovely 3-foot Cannon Rouge, but she just bounces on this thing the whole time. I'm not a big fan of toys, and now I can't see her butthole, and it's not doing it for me. I tried to convince him to just like use a variety of elevations and leg positionings and don't move the hand too much. And hopefully that would inject enough variety, but this is what he went with. I'm sure there are people who do like it. Not for me, unfortunately. But before I give any of my other thoughts, I'll let you two finish your piece.
I have no problems with toy forfeits.
I agree with Nord. I actually Kinda prefer it in this case.
Philistines.
Well, look, she has a butt pose for every stage still.
She does. That was very nice. There is one where she sticks her butt out, and you can see the goods. I did appreciate that. But let me mention other things because I do want to praise this model in general first. So yeah, I'm a bat fucker. I'll admit it. I played Sonic Adventure 2 when I was a kid. I got the brain worms. She bit into me, and I caught the virus. And there's no going back. My only regret with this costume is that it wasn't first, and now it won't be the default that people see when they're scrolling through. I mean, talk about making her stand out. Talk about going there all the way instead it's just like a bonus thing that you find out if you're okay with the Gijinka enough to select that at all. I was stunned, obviously, about how good this looked. This is a design that's, especially with working with Kisuke, this is just so easy to fuck up and to make it look uncanny. And I really think they nailed it. You know, if you get even one part of the proportions wrong, this design is going to look really off. But like the feet and the hands and the head or everything are like just the right size, and she's still got like good plump proportions in her torso, and it just comes together really nicely. And she emotes, and you can still see everything really well. As far as or like even like this pose where she's hanging upside down, got like her boobs hanging upside down too. It's a nice touch. It's full of nice touches. And if you want to placate me with the forfeit, I would just say, you know, just iterate, you know, just add some more poses. Even if you just like did a couple poses where she's like turned back, you know, she's got the profile look and maybe like spreading her butt a little bit, or just do a couple of the forfeit poses with the reverse look. It wouldn't be too hard. You already have butt poses for her, so just make a couple of those for let me see the good stuff. Okay. I want to see her bat hole, her bat cave. It was just a very nice opportunity. I mean, I always look for an excuse to play with Rouge in the first place because even before this, she was still a very good character, and I enjoyed her. If you want to do some other nice things, her tail relative to her body is bigger now. And I think you could do a little bit more with that, you know, give her some tail action. Like just iterating on this model in general. I think finding ways to sort of play it up some more. You could play into like the size difference kink that she would now have with the player, because she still has like all of her default dialogue. She's not really written any differently. But something like that would be really nice if you could give her some custom lines, I think, to talk about, hey, you know, I'm 3 feet tall. I'm the perfect height to suck your dick or whatever. Maybe change her elevation some more, because she's always flying now to be more visible, but she's kind of always at the same elevation. So if you did a little bit more with that, it would be nice. Her lines are very wordy in general. It reminds me of sort of the older Jura lines that I used to write, where she really got into it. A couple of shorter lines here and there would be very nice. That was one thing that was nice, even in the games itself. Probably what turns people on as well is that she had she's running around and jumping. She has grunts and breathy moans and kind of vocalizations that are very nice as well. So you could play into that, I think. A lot of room for improvement, but she's just so good overall. And this, I was blown away, honestly, with how well executed this all was and how it came together. You wouldn't think so, but it is. I think it's time to move on. We have some epilogues to talk about, surprisingly.
So,
2, technically 3.
To start with, we will talk about Yumeko's epilogues, plural, because while conceptually the same, there's a distinct version for male and female players here.
Horsecat, what did you think of Yumeko's epilogues? Surprise, surprise, she leans into the whole slave and cat thing that she does with other players.
Who would have known? In one you get to be a dog, and in the other one you get to be a cat, depending on your gender. Well, I'll be honest, I had not played Yumeko before the epilogue had come out, so trying to get the epilogues was the first time I got to play with her in general.
Who are you, a casual player? You don't touch anyone who doesn't have an epilogue?
As a note, to get these epilogues, you have to lose to Yumeko. Yumeko has to be the one to win.
Yeah, which is not usually how they come. Usually you have to defeat them. Well, Yumeko goes, as you mentioned, into the whole slave thing. It's not quite my thing, but if it is yours, you'll be very appealed because she's got you grabbed very well during the entire thing, and thus a different thing depending of what gender you're doing. They're basically the same at the end, but yeah, you either the gamble at the end is either you get your nudes leaked into the internet, or you risk becoming a father, which you can assume which one is for which.
Right, you play Russian roulette with
basically
popped condoms.
Except it's the version where you pick from 5 and only one of them is safe.
Yeah.
Whereas, so instead
it's Russian roulette with 5 bullets. That's the way that Yumeko rolls. Yeah, it's weird to see the condom kink. Honestly, I'm sure there's other epilogues that have had condoms in them, but it's not something that's really stood out to me before. I don't find it that appealing because I'm an irresponsible prick in real life, and honestly, it was so funny to me. Like she gave the whole rigmarole about the condoms, right? You pick a condom and then you start fucking her with the condom on, and I was like, "What's that shit on my dick?" Oh, right, it's a condom. Left my head immediately. Horsecat, did you have any other comments on the epilogue's content? Did you enjoy it?
I mean, again, it's not quite my thing, but I'm pretty sure the people that enjoy it are going to enjoy it. There's not really much animation. It's more of like an old-style traditional epilogue. Simple, to the point. But there's nothing wrong with that. Whoever is into this, enjoy, I guess.
Yeah,
it's hard to live up to anything after Nami's animated adventure, her OVA. But you got to remember the 2 cakes philosophy, right? Like, people would rather have a really simple epilogue for every character than one character to have a 2-hour epilogue.
I did remember one more thing I was going to mention related to this epilogue. The creator was having a little bit of a struggle. Some scenes were glitching out, and I actually went and opened the epilogue on like the character editor. A little tip for anyone doing the new epilogues and stuff: don't use negative layers because it will lead to funky stuff happening and not working the way you want. More of a technical note.
Nord, what did you think?
Well, hello, it's me, people that like this sort of epilogue, and I didn't even know I would going into it.
Because I don't like it either, so I'm glad one of us does.
Oh my god. I'm just gonna say the condom thing. Yes. The fact that she calls me a good boy or good girl. Yes. It is a lot of. It is being carried a lot by the scenario and the knowledge that, like, after having lost a game to Yumeko, like, she is. I wanna say she is still pent up from the game. So, like, well, or at least this is how I'm looking at it. Is like, because she didn't get off during the game. This is like her reward. Like, she has beaten you. This is the epilogue she has chosen for you. If you get what I'm saying.
That is a good way to say it, yeah.
She unlocked the player's epilogue.
Exactly. So this is absolutely fitting for her. I am really happy that it exists. It's, as I say, it's carried a lot by the sort of like the setup of it and what she's saying and like what she's doing to you. I'd be happy to see more epilogues like this in future, where it's just really exploring something the character enjoys, even if it's just a like old school slideshow epilogue. Because there's nothing wrong with that sort of one, and it means we get more epilogues.
Yeah, do not be scared of doing an epilogue, even if it's a traditional one. More is always better in this case.
Yeah, people appreciate just any content in that regard. And if you like the character, that goes a long way. If you like what the character shtick is. I mean, it's clear that Cool Cat really does, and he's really leaned into it. And he just like, I feel him connecting with this character a lot. And you can see it in his ambition and his passion to set up all those interactions with other characters, you know. This is his thing. He likes it. And he's leaning into it, which is something I always encourage, even if it's not personally for me. Let's see. He has a good command of like her crazy expressions. I think he's come a long way from sort of her rough first go of the art, because now like he really leans into like he really captures like the crazed looks that she has from the source material. He's going all the way with them, and you want to go big for something like that to sell how nuts she is, and he's done a nice job with that. And you can feel the experience having accumulated.
Well, I cannot talk about the old art because I did not see it, but yeah, I could definitely tell.
I wasn't around for that one.
I could definitely tell she's not exactly the sanest in the head.
Yeah. Well, she's gambling with your dignity and or your financial resources. I mean, she has the financial resources to raise a kid, but she might gamble them away at any moment. She'd probably gamble the kid.
My gosh. In the business, we call that collateral.
So yeah, no animation at all. It's all like it's a traditional style epilogue. This is what they used to be like, especially when file space was limited. They were just quick slideshows, which is more in the vein of what this is. Honestly, part of me misses that. It's good that, I mean, I guess it's good that we're capable of more things, but I think the old style made it a lot more accessible for people. When you can have all this like dynamic pose maker, custom sprite animation stuff, you know, it's kind of like the forbidden fruit. Like that really explodes the scope creep, and that's why nobody really makes an epilogue anymore, because it's intimidating. It's this thing that's not made with Kisuke in mind, and it requires a whole different skill set. And if you want to just go back and make something simpler like this, just, you know, her existing sprites, a couple player sprites, and the eyes wide shut background that she has there, that works for a lot of people still, you know. Just go for it. Just a little bow to tie on top. Again, I don't like epilogues as a concept in general, especially when people are intimidated into not making them, because they're just like a really ambitious one. It's just like too hard. It's not something that you build the skills for when you're making a character. But like this stuff totally has a place in the game still right here, and people are gonna like it. I kind of wonder if he wants to get ambitious with it. You could do like multiple paths with markers, like RNG or something, and you can like pick a different condom or dildo or whatever and get a different ending. Be kind of weird.
Wait a minute, are you talking about multiple like branching epilogue choices, spnanon? I thought you were against that.
I am, but I mean, if you're going to go down that road, it's weird that it just like picks one for me.
But the thing is, you don't know which you choose. It leaves the seat ambiguous, and I think that's the point.
Yeah,
it's your imagination.
I do think Andres floated an idea in Ringo's channel related to her epilogue of like an epilogue that has a like a like randomly seeded chance when you play a full like Spinati game with them, and that sets
randomly seeded to seed her.
Yeah, to change, because you can change epilogue scenes based on markers. So
that's something Nami's does with your to reflect the player's chosen skin color. I don't think we mentioned that when we were talking about hers.
Yeah, that's how it works on a technical level. I also did that for Mia's epilogue, Mia from Golden Sun, just to reflect the player's skin tone by like choosing which sprite to overlay.
Well, yeah. Anyway, it's a creative spin on the premise for both the male and the female epilogues. It's nice to have a female epilogue. People complained about that on the poll because a lot of characters don't have female, even like basic female variations. I was watching the male version first, but the condoms is like, how was there going to be a female version of this?
I believe Horsecat also consulted female developers, female members of the community, like in confidence of like, hey, would this work for a female epilogue? And he took feedback on it early. That was good for him.
Girls can get other girls pregnant, but only on Major. Yeah. Only criticism I want to say is that the size, like your legs, especially as a male player, the perspective is a little off. You seem kind of small. I think it could use a couple more frames, a couple more like sprites, poses, just to like build up the tension in the scene. You know, the rising action of you like fucking her harder or whatever. Because she says like, "Oh, I'm coming," but the visuals don't really change as you accelerate to that. So, yeah, I mean, that's the other thing with epilogues is that people think of them as just like this one and done thing, but you can always just like iterate on those too. You could just add another scene in the middle a week later. I'd recommend adding just a little bit more to each of those to space it out so it doesn't go by too quickly. But overall, a positive add to the game, and I think it plays into what she does very well. So I hope fans of Yumeko are happy with this, and I think they will be. Any other thoughts?
No, that about covers it for me.
Yeah, same with me. Simple, but neat.
Well, Horsecat, you have sat through 2 episodes with us, and it's finally time to talk about why you are the guest star for this pair of episodes, and that is an epilogue that you have made. A bit more ambitious. It's more in the vein of Nami's, although not nearly as long, but it is full of custom drawn sprites and animations. It is an epilogue for Ringo Ando, the calculus girl, the first Puyo character that you added, called Getting Back Home. I could summarize it, but I'd rather let you do so. So why don't you tell us all about the creative process behind this epilogue? You know, how long did it take you to make it? What was your thought process? What did you want to get across with it?
Well, time frame I wouldn't be able to say exactly when I did the script for it. I can tell you, however, that it was one of my friends that we were talking about Puyo and Spinari, because he has a little project that somewhere in the future we may be seeing for the game. But in the meanwhile, we were talking about Watkins and stuff, and while we were talking, exhibitionism came around, and that just light up my head and said, maybe I can do something about this. So one talk went to the other, and then I had the whole script, and then I left that script in the back burner for a couple of months, and then suddenly, like around a couple of weeks ago, I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna finally do it. So I did the models for an extra character and got to work on it. So now we have the thing. I'll admit, I did rush a little bit because I have another project that I mentioned last episode that I want to get for April Fools, and if I had to focus on one thing or the other, and I said, let's just get this thing out first, and then I'll improve the other one, because as you mentioned with the Yumeko epilogue, it has a little bit of a pacing issue in the main show part, let's call it. That I'll probably add an extra scene in the middle to just improve pacing later. But yeah, basically, the day has passed. Someone comes for Ringo to bring her back home because she was talking about how she was in a different world all this time. But you end up coming along, and but however, your clothes do not. So shenanigans happen.
And then you bang.
And then you bang. That's my
that
little...
one guy in the feedback or in the dev channel that's always perving on Ringo. He was very happy about it.
Definitely, I could tell.
And it is very good. But yeah. Before we get into our opinions on it, is there anything like you struggled with, or is there anything that like you think came out really nicely, or like maybe something you want to add in the future?
Well, I believe I said this in the past, but making stuff for spnanon is making me study a lot more. In this case, I had to study with walk cycles in order for one of the scenes to work. I gave her a little walk cycle then during one of the scenes, which was like I guess in par with the old Ruby epilogues, a walk naked in the woods. But I like how that came out. I think on posterior looks it may be a little bit stiff, but nothing I can just tweak later. Same with one of the poses. Well, she's crouching in behind a little wall. I think I can still improve over there, but yeah, little tweaks. This is a never-ending quest, but I like what I have for now, and I hope people enjoy it.
Yeah, there's a lot of custom perspectives in here. This is the one that I like. Are you surprised?
Not at all.
Yeah, Nord, what did you think?
I prefer this other view for personal.
We had the same idea.
Oh. Yeah, you prefer the first one, I prefer the second one. I just
I like
want
them both.
Horsecat, I just want to like compliment you for like where does this sound like even daring to like do these sort of angles? Because like it takes a lot of ambition to be like, yes, I want to like do these angles of like the hypothetical like viewer camera that like literally have no counterpart or basis in something you can do in Kisake. It's like if it's a pose where a character's like leaning forward, you can at least like stitch a couple of models together to make the characters, tilt their body forward. But with this is just straight up this is just straight up art. So like I just want to compliment you for even daring to do that and for pulling it off pretty darn well. In my notes here, my biggest critique is that there's several like punctuation grammar issues here and there. Although I gather you're like addressing them.
Yeah, a lot of them have been merged today, I believe. I should have another update later tomorrow, and thankfully at least the punctuation stuff is easy to fix, so that's not such a big issue.
I left my feedback with you. Just I was sending these as bug reports, so that I just gave out. I was like, "Hey, it's me. Here's my feedback." The actual like sex scene felt very abrupt in terms of going like, "Oh, be gentle, player. It's my first time," and then like going in hard and dry.
Yeah, and again, that's probably what I'm gonna have to insert another scene. On my original script, I actually have 3 scenes over there, but again, due to time constraints, I ended up let's say delaying 2 of them. One of them is probably not going to come anytime soon, but I'll try to at least put 1 more in between there to help with the pacing.
All I said for that is that the sex scene could be longer. It did feel like it moved through it very quickly, even though that was the big climax of the whole thing.
Yes, I can probably extend it with more like ground noises and all stuff like that.
The scenario itself, like I'm not usually a fan of. What do you even call this?
Exhibitionism?
Yeah, like forced exhibitionism isn't usually my thing. I think you played up.
ENF?
I mean, there was a bit of ENF, but it was in an understandable context. I think it was fine. It's one of those cases where I'm not usually into this, so the fact that I like enjoyed this means you did really well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And talking about the stuff that some people may be a little bit iffy on, I also did get a report from a different, not a report, a DM from a different game dev that he felt a little bit iffy with the implication that the ecolo, the creature that gets you into all of these messes, watching you all this time. But
Well, you could, if you wanted to, instead of like cutting that entirely, you could turn it into a joke where it's like, haha, just kidding, why were you doing anything embarrassing?
Well, that's a thing. However, my intention was to, if you're going exhibitionism, we might as well go all the way with it. I did ask for the community on their opinion, and thankfully, I don't think that's a very, how do you call it? Spread up an opinion. I do have a way to rewrite it in order to not make it an issue, but it seems that since the community does not have really a problem with it, I think the rewrite is not that necessary.
It's like you don't have to change it just because one person says I personally didn't like it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This is a very ambitious epilogue. Very very nice, smooth animations and custom perspectives. Even the use of the screen to convey emotion, like at the beginning when she's yelling at Icolo, and it kind of like zooms in and out or flashes really fast or whatever it does to kind of sell that motion. Those nice cinematic touches. You talked about the smooth walk cycle that she does. That was very nice. I was impressed by something that you compare this to Nami's. It's shorter, but it's actually a very similar quality. It's just shorter in terms of like the actual content on display. It's very much in the running with it. But like I was impressed with like the scrolling background layers. There were like 3 different layers of the background as she was walking through that scene. Reminded me of like learning about like NES layers and like Super Mario Bros. And shit.
And that's exactly the inspiration.
Oh my god, it's like the parallax. Oh my god.
Some good on parallax scrolling, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to see how that's done. I will say from this thumbnail, I got like the totally wrong impression of what was going on in this scene. I thought this was like some kind of villain, like shadowy creature that sent you to like the shadow realm. That's what I thought this place was. And then you play it, it's like, oh no, it's just her hometown in a park at night. I thought you were fucking in the shadow realm. And there was like some kind of dimensional warping adventure. I was way off. I thought you went to the place where Puyos go when you destroy them.
Well, the color palette is a little bit weird because apparently that's how her town looks. Like during all of the games where she shows up, we don't really see that much of her town. But there's going to be a new one coming out in a couple of days, and they're actually showing a bit more. And that's the color palette that they're using. So I used some screen caps from the trailer to base the backgrounds off from.
The only other things I have are just nitpicks. There were some small typos throughout. I reported a lot of those. Doing it in an alleyway, it's a little gross. Not personally for me. I mean, it didn't look gross or anything, just the idea. I wondered if you could just like change it to like maybe screwing when you get to her house at the end or like close to her house, but it's not really a big deal.
That would be a little bit of a bigger rewrite. And I did think some people would be grossed out at that. And at one version of the script for it, I had it there's a mattress over there that looks like it's new, so you can do it over there. But it felt a little bit too.
That's honestly worse.
How you call it? Yeah,
that's even worse somehow.
That kind of reminds me of another thing I said where she says like, "Oh, I blocked the way of the end of the alleyway really quickly," even though you don't see that, and it's like that writing feels kind of contrived. Like if she just didn't mention that, I wouldn't even think about people passing by the alleyway. But now that you've drawn my attention to it, now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, and I can see why. Again, the script went through a lot of rewrites. The original had even more characters because there's these 2 other characters that I had originally on the script. Like the person that was in the park, it was supposed to be someone called Rizukoma, which is one of her classmates. And I had a whole thing where the shenanigans happened, and that's how you leave him behind. So at the end, I scrapped that, and then I just left the whole, I blocked the way so that he's not longer a thing. But I can remove that if it's a bother.
You can always just add to it later. I think it works well enough on its own. It's just stuff like, the sex scene could be longer and everything. Very nice animation on the penetration scene. Although I think you'd even try animating like the labia itself. You could do like a little bit of a pulsing thing. It could be interesting.
That could be
But
interesting
overall,
indeed.
just very nice. Like it's a credit to this epilogue that I'm not really into the whole exhibitionism or ENF thing either. But I just like Ringo as a character, and she's appealing. So I hope this brings more attention to her in general as well. I hope more players check her out because of it, because she's a bit obscure over here in the West, but she's a very nice character. I like her. Don't want her to get overshadowed by Oral.
I mean, one of the reasons I decided to go again out of the sudden with it is because recently some of the developers got access to some playstats, and I was very surprised to figure out that, sure, I was expecting the Equestria Girls characters to have way more plays than the Puyo characters. But then Arl also apparently has a lot of plays, and then Ringo is just way, way, way down in the bottom, surprisingly. And
I saw that. That is not where she belongs. What the fuck?
So hopefully this entices more people to give her a shot. I also gave her a little extra basic, how you call it, collectible recently to try to boost that as well a little bit.
Part of the thing with Arl is probably because she's newer as well. But yeah, Ringo deserves a lot more than what she's been getting, and I think this will really help. Well, yeah, I think that just about does it, unless either of you have any final comments. We did have one more character to talk about, but in the interest of time, we'll just save her for next time. She's still pretty fresh and new anyway, and she'll probably get fixed up some.
Yeah, voiced by the same voice actor as Ringo, by the way.
Really?
At least in the US, yeah.
So, either of you have any final comments? Nor, do you have anything?
So much like the potential consequences in Yumeko's epilogue for meals, I appreciate that you threw in a line or two about the potential consequences of this with Ringo, in her epilogue. It's something I didn't address in the text of Rose's epilogue, but you could do what I did and add in like a marker that is set after you view the epilogue, so that Ringo can then comment on it in your next game of Spinati. Correct me if she already does this.
None of my characters have game plus dialogue, let's call it, and I actually want to learn how to do that eventually.
Okay, so you do want to do it, because I think it would be funny if like you could toy around with it in the like next game of Spinati the player does, of like, hey player, I really needed to talk to you about something important.
I don't know why you're so wrapped up in the consequences, man. It's a fantasy.
Well, if you want to look at it in a cynical way, it is a fantasy for my generation.
Yeah.
World's on fire.
That's a cynical thing I've noticed as well. It's like, why do you think there's so much impregnation fetish? It's because people want what they can't have. Oh dear. Well, on that somber note, I think it's time to end. Thanks for a great epilogue, great content, Horsecat. A lot of good stuff we covered these past two episodes. Thanks for coming on as well, Nord. Thanks for putting up with my bullshit with the steamed buns. I know you're game for it.
Thank you for fulfilling the role of Agnes Skinner last episode, Horsecat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here in that podcast again. I like it. No, I'm just glad that you consider me again here.
Always, man. You always make good stuff. Whenever that April Fool's character comes out, it'll be interesting as well. You know, the Pinkie Pie Easter stuff. I'm always looking forward to what you put out. You never miss.
Thanks.
Now let's end off with a dramatic reading of something I definitely did not read in a failed first bit that got cut. 88 kick drum, 88 hats, 88 snare drum, 88 clap. Got an 88 this and an 88 that. Got an 88 boom and an 88 BAP. Good night, everybody.